Do you wish you could help more people as a mental health professional? Then stick around, because in this episode of the Mental Health Toolbox, we're talking with clinical psychologist Dr. Monica Blied, who shares her journey of learning how to help more people with digital mental health products. She has created her own mental health app called Faces of Health, as well as online courses and a YouTube channel.
While we're training to be therapists, we don't get training in like business. You kind of just
Isn't
got
that the
to
truth?
figure it out on your own, right? And so I had this beautiful opportunity to learn about the business side of private practice. Like, what does it mean to be an entrepreneur and be able to manage and juggle all the things that come along with that? And so as I was part of that program, I started to think more and more about how can I widen and increase my impact without spreading myself too thin.
As a mental health professional, one of my biggest frustrations is not being able to help as many people as I would like, and I'm sure you feel the same. There is a major supply and demand issue in the mental health space. At the moment someone seeks treatment, it could be up to 3 months before they're seen for either therapy or medication support services. According to the Trilliant Health Report, behavioral health providers are spread thinner, with a nationwide average of only 61 providers per 100,000 people. And as of June 2022, 32.8% of adults were reporting symptoms of anxiety or depression. While the pandemic has forged greater access to care through telehealth, access to care still remains a major challenge. In light of this challenge, we are starting to see mental health apps on the rise, an effort to educate and support consumers to augment therapy. Dr. Blied shares with us how she was able to get into the app development space as a therapist without any technical or coding knowledge, and how you can too. So let's go. Good morning, Dr. Blied. Thank you so much for being on the Mental Health Toolbox today and dedicating your time to share with us your expertise around mental health, being a clinical psychologist and specializing in ADHD and chronic illness. And so I'm just very excited to dive in and share with the audience your expertise and golden nuggets of wisdom here.
And I'm so grateful that you have me on today. Thank you. It's been
my
a long
pleasure.
time coming for the audience who are listening. I actually reached out to Patrick several months ago, and we had something scheduled, and then I was ill, and he was super flexible with me. But we are here today.
Yes, despite technical difficulties, right?
Right.
Got it squared away. So.
Yeah, technical difficulties are the spice of life.
Yes, exactly, right? Keeps us on our toes. Yes, absolutely. Well, I know somewhat of your background, but why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and share with us what you're about, where you come from?
Yeah, so I am a clinical health psychologist located in California, Southern California specifically, and the owner of Faces of Health. So Faces of Health is a private practice in Southern California, but also an enterprise that marries mental health with the tech industry. So I have digital tools that I've created to help spread access to mental health skills and tools to the larger public. So an online course and an app. I'm also a wife, a mother of 3. I have both toddlers and teenagers. And what else? I think that's enough for now.
Adjunct professor. I believe you missed that.
Adjunct professor, yeah, at Pepperdine. Yeah, so I went to Pepperdine for undergrad and for my master's program, then jumped over to Fuller Theological Seminary for my PhD, where I learned about the integration of faith and psychology. That was really important for me coming up. The reason why I went into psychology as a career field was because I saw the great stigma against mental health care, specifically in my family, but also in the larger Black community. And I wanted to be able to make a difference, to be this, beautiful brown face can, still also help people with mental health and kind of combat that stigma of just keep it in the family, or what happens in this house stays in this house, so that people can be able to get the support and the tools that they need to make it through stressful times.
Wow. Thank you so much for the work you're doing. And you're not busy at all, right? I mean,
Not at all.
not at all. Got plenty of downtime. Yeah. So fantastic. So yeah, Fuller Seminary. That's a great school. I've referred a lot of clients there
Thank you.
for care, and so you have a background in both the spiritual, how to implement the spiritual into the clinical practice, right?
Yeah, yeah. And so that people find like wherever they find meaning or wherever they find hope, that can really be enhanced. I don't want to say capitalized upon because that's kind of a weird way to say it, but just making sure that we don't forget any parts of diversity, because a person's faith system, whether that be in institutionalized religion or a different spiritual practice or Eastern belief systems or whatever the case might be, these are all a makeup of their diversity. No difference than race and ethnicity and languages and so many other things that we need to attend to as mental health therapists.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And so, given that you have so many different areas of expertise when it comes to chronic illness, to ADHD, autism spectrum, special needs, how did you get into the digital space, right? Because I know that's really popular these days, but it's also very, I think, a lot more difficult than I think people realize.
Yeah, it is. So I attended a business accelerator program. I won a grant through LA County, and the specific grant program was through something called LISC LA, which is not a corporation, but a organization that helps to empower communities, especially communities of color, through tackling the unhoused issue in LA County, or helping to empower business owners who would otherwise not have access to capital or access to different resources. And so I got this grant, and the grant was to be a part of this 12-week business accelerator program. And it was basically like getting an MBA, like a Master's of Business Association, in 12 weeks. And so, the people who are listening, if you're not in the mental health field, if you didn't study to be a therapist, one thing you may not know is while we're training to be therapists, we don't get training in business. You kind of just got to figure it out on your own, right? And so I had this beautiful opportunity to learn about the business side of private practice. What does it mean to be an entrepreneur and be able to manage and juggle all the things that come along with that? And so as I was part of that program, I started to think more and more about how can I widen and increase my impact without spreading myself too thin. Because you notice, Patrick, I do a lot of things right now, in addition to being a mom and, helping raise a household and also living with chronic illness myself. I've lived with lupus and fibromyalgia since 2012. How can I have the greatest impact, help the most people without always working? Because I need downtime, I need rest. All humans do, but I feel like I especially do, so that I can not burn out and so that I can continue to do this work. And so I had already started to think about doing online courses where, it's a self-paced, people can log on and just watch. And then I had the idea of what about also putting it into an app? I think the organizer of the particular program was like, yeah, have you thought about an app? And I was like, Wait, that's like possible? That's a thing? Yeah. And so I thought, okay, I have these videos together for my online course. Why not make shorter videos, like 1 to 3 minutes, teaching people really important mental health tools and make it accessible in an app? And so that was last like November, December that I was in that program in 2021. And by June 2022, that's when I had my app published in the app stores and accessible for all. So it kind of grew and developed out of that, this taking this learning how to be an entrepreneur to how can I widen access to mental health skills and tools to now it's on the market. And I've partnered with other professionals, specifically Black women professionals, who can share their areas of expertise as well, to make even more accessible different life skills for folks. So I have someone who's talking about recovery from trauma. And so one of the videos she has is the neurobiology of trauma.
Mm-hmm.
There's the neurobiology of healing, and then it's God trauma. What happens when you feel traumatized by people in the church or, spiritual experiences? There's someone else who comes on and she talks about holistic substance abuse recovery and HALT-B and other techniques for managing cravings. And I have someone who's going to come on and talk about grounded mindfulness. I do a lot of that, but like, what does self-care and self-love look like in the context of recovering from narcissistic abuse and relationships? So just those sorts of things. I am so thrilled and excited that it's actually like available to the public now.
Wow. So this is not just like a meditation app. This is very
Right.
robust, right?
Right. And that's what I love about it, because I truly love what's on the market now. So there's, like Calm and Headspace, but it's really just like breathing exercises and meditation. But what I noticed for myself trying to deal with stress is that sometimes you're just not in a position to even breathe. Like you're so stressed out, you're so anxious or angry or whatever, that if you do try to breathe, you're going to hyperventilate. So what else is out there to help with your mental health? What else is out there to help calm down your nervous system? And so I teach people about tapping skills, emotional freedom technique, type tapping, and EMDR, bilateral tapping. I teach people about grounding skills. If you do have a history of trauma, closing your eyes to try to do a meditation can be very triggering, very activating. Grounding exercises are meditations that you do with your eyes wide open, that actually takes you from your inner world of chaos and negative experience to focus on purpose on the outside world. So again, calm down your nervous system. And again, as we're going through each of these different trainings that I give and these short videos, I'm also teaching people the neuroscience behind it. So what is actually happening in your brain and biology as you're doing it? So you not just know how to do it, but you know why it works.
I love that, because it's not just do this. This is why you're doing it. And I really appreciate that. Right. And I know in the work I've done with clients, I definitely try and explain the reasoning behind a lot of the skills and why this is effective for some people. Right. Because not everything is effective for everyone. But that's one of the reasons I was looking through your app. I was like, wow, this is great, because it's not just, mood tracking. It's not just deep breathing. It's tapping. It's brain spotting. It's teaching you how to self brain spot. Right. It's the psychoeducation. It's the podcast features as well, kind of thing. It's the lectures, right? So it's very, like I said, very robust, because we understand that what works for you may not work for me per se, right? And that's a big part of mental health, right? Is trying to not treat everything like a boilerplate approach. And understanding that every person is unique, and even for the same person, what works in one instance may not work anymore. That's usually what causes a crisis, right? Is because when somebody's coping skills stop working, or they don't work like they used to when times get rough, people kind of go into panic. I know I do. It's
Right.
like, wait,
Right.
this usually helps calm me down. What's going on? This isn't
It's
working
not
anymore.
working now. Yeah. And I think you intuitively understand that. And you created the mental health toolbox
Exactly.
podcast
Mm-hmm.
because it's not just about having one or two skills or one or two tools. It's about having a toolbox, or, if we want to be like gender stereotypic, a makeup kit. Okay. You
Yes.
have multiple different tools, or skills that are available to you that you can try in different circumstances where, okay, I'm at, a level 10 out of 10. I'm going to do this. I'm actually at a level 7 out of 10. I'm going to do this. Today, I'm at a level 300 out of 10. I need to do this type of skill.
Mm-hmm.
So, being able to have knowledge of what those different school skills and tools are, but then also have access to be able to practice them and be able to practice along with your therapist.
Absolutely. Yes. I love it. So this app
Mm-hmm.
is your brainchild, right?
Yeah.
And like you said, I would think that, when somebody says, oh, just create an app, it's like as if it's a simple thing. So I'm very curious, what your
Yeah.
process was,
Yeah.
because again, looking into the app, I can see how well organized it is,
Thank
how
you.
many offerings it supports, and this is like the first iteration, right?
Right.
So
Right.
that's impressive.
Yeah, thank you. So I had actually had I was sponsored to have a tech company to create the app for me. And after 8 months of different iterations and things just not working out and bugs and crashes and those sorts of things, I just got really frustrated one evening and was just like, it can't be this hard.
Mm-hmm.
So I Googled how to create an app. And I was reading articles from different tech magazines about what are some of the best platforms
Mm-hmm.
online for creating your own app, like no code, low code, and different offerings. And I tried out three of them, and one seemed most intuitive for me. And so I went with that. And within that same weekend, I had created my app.
Wow. Wow,
Yeah.
that's impressive. You taking matters into your own hands, right?
Yeah, so it was it took 3 or 4 weeks to get everything finalized to be able to publish in the app stores after that. But I was really proud of myself for just kind of figuring it out. But I think if there's anything that's impressive or that I want to kind of brag about, is that I haven't just left it with me, but I've so far also helped two other women to create their own apps, sharing with them the secret sauce of,
Wow.
this is how
Look
we
at that,
do
giving back.
it.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's what's most important for me. I feel like there's, enough for all of us to win. There's enough
Mm-hmm.
food for all of
Right.
us to eat. So, why not share that knowledge to empower others?
Absolutely. I think sometimes there's this fear when you're, for especially for business owners that, if you show people what's under the hood, then somebody's going to steal your stuff and run with it and you're going to lose your business. But we know, at least from all the books I've read, that's not the case, right?
Mm-hmm.
That when we share, we all win, right? We do
Yes,
better.
yes, yeah. And I think that's, part of the strength of my faith system too, of like, hey, we can all win, like you said, or, it's about giving,
Mm-hmm.
more than just receiving. That's really important to me.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
having that abundance mindset.
Yes. Paying it forward. I
Yeah.
love it. That's great. So obviously my wheels are turning, and I
Yeah.
want to ask you a million questions around app development, but I'm equally curious, of course, what your experience is in starting your own business and mental health, and what do you think would be most applicable to our audience, and both for the clinicians and the consumers in terms of access to health and maybe with chronic illness, or
Yeah.
even for the therapists who are out there thinking about branching out on their own like you have. right?
Mhm.
Because you used to work for the VA, right?
I did, yes.
Yeah.
So I will share something that I learned as I was kind of doing my research for starting a private practice. What I did was I decided that I wasn't going to continue working for the VA and I wanted to work for myself. I initially thought I wanted to work for a group practice, but the opportunities that I had weren't really fitting with my value system. And so it was kind of like, okay, I'm going to do this, solopreneur. How am I
Mm-hmm.
going to do it? So I interviewed, if you will. I met with some private practice therapists in my area. I live in Claremont, I live and work in Claremont, and just said, like, what is some advice that you have for me? Like, how did you do it? And it was kind of cute if someone were recording this, because here I was with this 4-month-old baby on my arm. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't have childcare at the time. So I was like, she was just coming to these places with me, and asking these other, women entrepreneurs, like, just pour into me. What advice do you have for me? And one who is now my friend, Dr. Lucia Plunkett in Claremont. She's been a psychologist there in private practice for 20 years. She said, lead with your values. She
Mm.
said, if you value family time and not working on weekends or evenings, then that's how you need to set up your schedule in private practice. If you value, having breaks during the day, then don't do back to back clients. And so, going into just owning my own business, and the clients that I have are the income that I have. So, there can be this fear of, well, if I tell people, like, no, actually, I can't meet you at 6 or 7 p.m., or
Mm-hmm.
no, I don't have openings on Saturday, does that mean I'm going to miss out on that? Miss out on that relationship opportunity with that client and also that income opportunity. But I just kept her voice in my head. No, lead with your values, lead with your
Mm-hmm.
values. And so as I was building up my caseload, I said, no, I'm going to work Wednesday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And within that time, I'm going to have, within that 9-hour time frame, I'm going to have 5 clients maximum.
Wow.
And so I did, and it was scary because I did have to turn some people away. But I went full time in March, and I was full by June.
Wow.
So,
No kidding.
and in full without the kind of resentment that can build up when you are working hours that you don't want to work, or you know, to say yes to one thing is to say no to something else. So to say
Mm-hmm.
yes to a weekend client is to say no to family time on weekends,
Mm-hmm.
or, sacrificing in those ways. And so I felt very good about that. That's some advice that I would share to someone who's thinking about building their private practice. Like, have an abundance mindset. Don't have this, fear of missing out mindset,
Mm-hmm.
and lead with your values. What is it that you value? Now, I have colleagues who, are doing private practice part time. And so they don't mind working Saturdays or Sundays, or,
Mm-hmm.
6 to 9 p.m. or whatever the case may be. That's their value system. Mine was different. So that would be kind of the main part. And then even as I branched out into these digital products, I value not working so many hours.
Right.
I value both having a wider spread and reach of access to these tools that
Mm-hmm.
work, and also not spreading and reaching myself, meaning not going over my own capacity, spreading myself too thin. So the way that I can do that is with these pre-recorded videos, pre-recorded lessons, where it's just, I invest the time initially, but then after that, it's all passive income while helping so many more people than I can reach as an individual. So again, thinking outside of the box on how you can lead with your values.
Excellent. I really love that, leading with your values, and I hear that when I listen to people like Joe Sanok and
Mhm.
Allison Pereire, and the podcast. I don't know if you're familiar with her, but a lot of these other therapists in the digital space who talk about this
Mhm.
ideal of a passive income or working less hours and being more satisfied as a therapist, because I do feel like there's this dynamic where, because there's such a supply and demand issue,
Mhm.
it's easy to, I think, overbook and just try and
Right.
fit our quality of life around our work, right? And it can be very challenging, like you said. And I think a lot of that too is it's a desire to serve, but it's also sometimes fear based, right?
Right.
And
Right.
it can become this competition. I think in agency work, you don't really have a choice. I mean, you have
Mhm.
to do everything you possibly can while maintaining self care and
Right.
respecting that your break time and that kind of thing. But I think in the private sector, it's a
Mhm.
lot easier to just recreate the agency.
It's the atmosphere, right?
Because I
Like,
think we always want to, like, oh, I can just take on a little more, I can take a little more, I can make it happen, I can make it fit.
mhm.
At least that's my propensity, because
Right.
that desire to help, right?
Right.
But then
Right.
there's the burnout, and then
Yeah.
there's the quality of life and that work
Yeah.
life balance and
Yes.
all of that.
Yeah. Yes, and it's true that we can,
Mm-hmm.
right? Anyone who's doing agency life right now, they can see 32 clients a week, 38 clients a week, and we can in private practice as well. But just because we can doesn't mean we should,
Mm-hmm.
and we have to, or one thing that I think about is like every yes is a no to something else.
Mm-hmm.
So a yes to another client is a no to that coffee break
Mm-hmm.
or the time to record a podcast,
Yes, exactly.
or, meeting with a client. I mean, excuse me, meeting with a colleague for just networking or consultation or just having a breath,
Mm-hmm.
that break. Or whatever the case might be. And so we have to really weigh out. And sometimes we do have situations that say, like, no, actually, I need to like grind a little bit because I'm saving for, down payment on a house or whatever the case might be. But to make the grind a lifestyle means that, what's really the longevity of your career? Could you work for 50 years seeing 15 clients a week,
Mm-hmm.
versus you can work for 15 years because you've seen 30 clients a week, and then you have this compassion fatigue and you start to
Mm-hmm.
be mean to your clients, you know?
Right. We practice what we preach, right?
Right, right.
Yes, yes. So I love that, leading with your values. And so it sounds like being very intentional with what season of life you're in, what looking ahead and working backwards,
Yeah.
thinking about the quality of life we want and kind of reverse engineering that. And that can
Mm-hmm.
be on a 10-year plan, 5-year plan, and a 2-week plan, right?
Right.
Thinking about tomorrow and what we want tomorrow to look like in the next 2 weeks. And I know in
Yeah.
the mental health space, we book out like 3 months in advance. I know I do. The calendar is booked out. So I think it's really
Right.
important to think ahead,
Right.
about, if we have some time to days to crank it and days we want to pack a little bit lighter because of self-care, because of the other goals we're working on, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think,
Yeah.
we have it more choices to make, building our own schedules as entrepreneurs. And so with that comes, we're not forced to take 2 weeks vacation a year, or 4 weeks vacation a year. We're not forced to do anything. And so we have to make those choices for ourselves. And it can be difficult when we enjoy this work.
Mm-hmm.
you
That's the
know
truth.
Even if we take the income part out of it, we enjoy working with our clients. This is why we chose this line of work. But I've noticed that when I take a week off, even if it's just to like do Netflixing or
Mm-hmm.
like do a course on Pessy or something like that, I enjoy working with my clients even more when I come back. I have fresh and new ideas. I miss them. So just doing that on purpose, taking that time off, even if there's nothing scheduled, is really important.
Yes. Amen to that.
Yeah. So when is your next vacation, Patrick?
I don't know. It's coming up, I think, somewhere. Try to take mini vacations too. You know?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
important. Um, so for the entrepreneur, slash therapist, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who's trying to get in, build out their own practice like you
Yeah.
have.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the challenges you've run into when it comes to getting into the digital space? Because we could talk a lot about the brick and mortar aspect of your
Mm-hmm.
challenges, but specifically because you are definitely a pioneer in this, this kind of new new
Mm-hmm.
territory for therapists. You said courses,
Yeah.
digital products, right? Be that a master class,
Mm-hmm.
podcast, digital offerings, this app.
Yeah.
Yeah, what are some of the hurdles you've had to overcome in order to make this happen, to come to fruition?
Yes. So I say the biggest and number one hurdle is the how to,
Mm.
like how to offer an online course. And so I'll just offer this for free 99,
All right. Yeah.
because I looked at, there's like Coursera, and then there's Thinkific, and there's a few different online platforms for hosting. And then there's even some that will like offer your classes or your courses for CE units.
Mm-hmm.
But as I've looked into these myself, there are some limitations, meaning like you have to pay like $400 a month for it to be hosted on this platform, or for the specific company, I can't remember the name, that wanted to be able to offer CE units for my course, they would take 80% of the profit and give me 20%. I'm like, okay, but like like, what are you doing exactly? Like, I created this course, like I put in all this time, and then you're going to take 8. What? Like, math just didn't make sense. Make it make sense, right? And so what I learned was there's something called LearnDash, a learning management system. And it's a platform that you can actually build into your own website. And so your course is hosted on your website. You own it. You have control over what you're charging, and you're getting 100% of it. You get control over adding courses, building it out, over the SEO, because it comes directly to your website versus a third-party platform, and all these things. And it actually looks like, if you've ever taken an online course in a university, it's built out that way. It looks that way. It's actually very cool. And you can have videos, and then you can have like articles that you have attached to that course, or, quizzes, and you get a certificate of completion afterwards and all that stuff. So that's kind of just free that I wanted to share with people. And then, so actually, let me just share my screen.
Yeah, please.
So people can see what that looks like on this end. Let's see. Give me just a second. So unfortunately, I'll have to share my desktop for a second, so it'll look weird.
It all works.
All right. So this is just the main page. If you go to drblied.com/courses, I have one course built out right now. And then you get to design the landing page.
Nice.
And there's course content. And so you can see how I have mine built out. And if I would have planned ahead, then I would have logged on so that you can see like what each of these looks like. But that was the best fit for me. One of the other things that I've done is connected with my local small business administration. So SBDC, I think it's the Small Business Development Corporation. And they have these all over the country where you can meet with mentors and coaches for free as frequently as you want to. And and they teach you everything. So mine has helped me with like trying to get more SEO for my website. So like giving advice, like, having a blog and those sorts of things, down to like pitching, if you wanted to pitch for different grants or venture capitalists, like funding, to how to build your website, to marketing and advertising. So I'm taking, they recommended I take classes on like LinkedIn Learning for the Google versus Facebook versus LinkedIn paid ads and so many other things. So I would say to get linked in with your local SBDC, small business.
SBDC.
Yeah, small business development. I think it's corporation or but it's paid for by tax dollars. So yes. So get connected with a mentor. Mine is at the University of Laverne, and we meet weekly to bi-weekly, and we just talk about everything. So he's helped me with actually developing out the next steps of my app and course marketing, and then also like looking at my financial plan and those sorts of things. It's pretty amazing.
Wow. See, a wealth of information. That's why I was excited to have you on.
Oh,
Not just
thank
because
you.
you're a clinical psychologist who happens to have expertise in chronic illness and ADD, which we haven't even gotten into, testing. That's a big part of your practice, right?
It
ADD
is.
testing for adults, which is
Yes.
difficult to even find these days. I get so many clients who are asking for ADD testing as an adult who don't have the history as a child of testing. It's very hard to get connected to places like the regional center when you don't have a history of being diagnosed, or to get medication when you're going to college as an adult and you have these learning disabilities. And a lot of the campuses don't offer that as part of the student health services. They have to go out of pocket somewhere.
Right. And adult autism testing as well. That's, pretty rare. And that's something that I offer. And the reason why I got into that is, well, first of all, my background is in neuropsychology. I had a 6-year graduate program, and the first 5 years I was studying to be a neuropsychologist. My dissertation is on interhemispheric transfer times in children with moderate to severe traumatic brain injuries. And so I was looking at EEG data and combining that with neurocognitive testing to see like if there were any differences between, moderate to severe TBI and control youth. And then like right before my 6th year, right before applying for internship, I was just like, I really like health psychology. I really disappointed my mentor so much. Yeah. They're like, oh, but they were like, well, I guess you could do assessment in like health psych. So I did my internship in health psych, so behavioral medicine, and focused on that for my postdoc as well, which was health promotion and disease prevention. And that fit really well with like me figuring out my identity as a chronically ill person, as a person who was living with lupus and working clinically with people who had HIV and AIDS and cancer and so many other medical illnesses. And as I got into my private practice and was doing that, I was like, I really miss assessments. I really miss it. So, what is a niche? What is something that I can offer that is not really being offered too much around here? So that was the adult assessment for ADHD, as you mentioned. It's kind of rare to find. And typically the people who get missed, so the people who are not diagnosed in childhood, are the people who are very bright, because the schools will test once whatever behaviors or learning differences or whatever start to get in the way of school performance. So when you're starting to get bad grades, you're flunking out, the school is going to test. And, that's something that's paid for by the district. However, if you're struggling and spending hours a night on homework, but still getting A's, still managing to get by because either you have a lot of anxiety and or you're really smart, you might go through the entire K through 12 and not really be flagged. And so now you get to college and all of a sudden you don't have the structure that your parents enforced
Mm-hmm.
and all that extra executive functioning help. You're, planning your own classes, you have parties to go to and friends and, all this extra autonomy, and still dealing with those problems that you had before of waiting until the last minute to get starting on projects, or having a hard time finishing something once you start because either you're distracted and your mind goes somewhere else, or because you don't have the organizational skills. And then it's like, oh, I think something has to make it make sense again. Like there's something wrong. I don't know what it is. And so that's where, someone like me would come on and say like, okay, well, let's take a look at this. Let's have your parents fill out some forms about how you were between the ages of 5 and 12.
Mm-hmm.
And let me look at all your report cards from kindergarten until now. And then that's typically where I start to see that there were signs all around. Always turns in homework late, talks too much in class, can't sit still, rushes on assignments or on tests, or doesn't check their work. Like these signs were there, but they weren't prominent enough to get them flagged, so they got missed.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense, and that's very thorough. I'm going back through.
It is. It's quite, and it's very expensive as well because it is thorough.
For sure. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. But I love it. I love it so much because within a week, of me doing this assessment with the person, from the clinical interview to the in-person testing to the feedback session, I'm able to put together the pieces of this puzzle and really help to make sense of what their experience is, give them an explanation for their experience, and they feel seen, they feel understood, and they have a toolkit or a roadmap for their next steps forward. So it's not just like, okay, here's your diagnosis, and then like, see you later, go find somebody to give you medications. But it's like, no, here are your next steps. These types of therapies will be really helpful for you. You're going to need these accommodations in school or at work. You will, get an executive functioning coach who's going to help you as that external frontal lobe and teach you those skills and strategies until they become more natural for you. And, of course, the medication piece is really important as well. So having that roadmap for their next steps forward.
Wow. Yes. So definitely thorough. I love it.
Yeah.
Very thoughtful, to think through the whole process of somebody going through that experience, the answers they're looking for, and even how to help support them moving forward. That's a big deal.
Yeah, and help them to know how their brain works. And it's not just about the challenges that they're having, but also what are their strengths. And so part of the testing is also like, an IQ assessment and looking at the different areas of brain functioning that are impacted by attention. So that they can know not only, what are the things that they're struggling with, but what are some of your superpowers? What are some of the inherent strengths of even having ADHD? So I have this handout. It's 25 things to love about ADD. And it talks about like, insomnia makes for, more time to surf the net at night, or having this far-reaching sense of humor that no one really gets because your brain is from 0 to 100 miles an hour and other people are like still on 40, right? Or having this sense of compassion or this innate understanding for technology and all these other hyper focus. Like, ADHD, people think it's like you can't pay attention. Like, no, actually, it's an inability to control where your attention goes. It's not can't pay attention, because if you've ever seen someone with ADHD or you have it yourself, that once it's something you're interested in, you have this skill where like you will learn everything about that subject to like down to like the microorganism part of it, right?
It can be a superpower, right?
That's really, So just learning about those things and learning how to like really hone in on those strengths while also getting support for the challenges. It's more of like a whole person approach.
I love it. It's fantastic. So, can we call
Yeah.
you an ADHD specialist?
No, not yet. I'm actually getting additional certification so that
Awesome.
you can call me a clinical specialist in
Cool.
that. But right
Cool.
now, it's just, it's
Yeah.
just part of what I do.
One of your many offerings. Right?
Yeah, thank you, though.
Fantastic. Yeah. All right. So, for anyone listening, obviously, so you have a practice in Claremont, Faces of Health.
Yes.
That's very holistic, but definitely this is one offering of yours that is really, at the top tier is the ADD ADHD testing for adults.
Hmm. Hmm.
Anybody in the SoCal area looking
Yes,
for
yes.
that kind of service, that's
Yeah. And I actually
definitely up your
started
street.
at age 8. So I do the little
Oh,
kids as
okay.
well.
All
Yeah.
right.
So I say like between age 8 and like 40. After 40 years old, you start to get into like early dementias and those sorts of
Mm-hmm.
things. And I refer out to
Oh,
someone.
good to know.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I did, Patrick, if we have time, I wanted to share my iPhone screen and
Yes,
just show
please
what
do.
the app looks like.
Yes.
Because I'm really excited. I'm proud of this. And share also some new things that will come soon.
All right.
All
I love
right.
it. I've been
So
playing
this
around
is
with the app. It's
the
fantastic.
thank you. This is the new interface. I had a different one when I first launched,
Mm-hmm.
but I cleaned it up this way because there were questions about like, well, what does each thing mean? What are somatic exercises? What are CBT skills? So in this iteration, you can see like there is a short description before each of the things that you would click on. So there's crisis support, like hotline numbers, somatic exercises, and de-stress, CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy skills.
Mm-hmm.
Those are always free. Those are the freemium features. And so I'll just open up somatic exercises, for example, so people can see what that looks like. So
Nice. I love
under
visuals
Thank
great.
you. Yeah. So under each tool is there are a series of different videos that you can just follow along with. And the nice thing is you can literally just play it and follow along. And if we go to, let me go back, there's also, like we said, tapping skills, chair yoga. I'm a certified chair yoga instructor. I got that when I was at the VA to be able to
Nice.
provide that offering for veterans. Breath training, there's quite a few videos under breath training because people like that. But like you said, it's definitely more robust. There's a lot more than just that. And if people are listening in their car or like before they go to sleep at night, there's also audio for all this. There's self brain spotting exercises. I have a few videos there. There are some more that I'm going to add that I recorded when I was in Alaska last month. Faith-based skills. The digital coloring book is also free. And I love this because you
Oh, I
just
love it.
choose a little item and then you can just like color. And so this is like a grounding exercise, like
Mm-hmm.
just distract you from your pain.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can like choose the size of it. You can have it really big and I'll make it orange. So the people who, or that wasn't orange, the people who cannot see this, who are just listening by audio,
Mm-hmm.
sorry about that, but
That's cool. Very
but
cool.
you can see that it's really cool. And then of course I have my blog as well.
Oh, nice.
And in the blog, I talk about different mental health, the latest science and information, what self care is and what it ain't.
Mm,
So I hope that people find this as a resource that they can share with their friends and their family. Anyone who is a little bit hesitant about going to therapy, it's like, well, what will you learn in therapy? Like, well, actually, here's an app that shows you some of the skills and tools that you will learn with your therapist. And it just makes the process a little bit less intimidating for them.
that's fantastic. So it's very complimentary to
Yes.
yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And that's Faces of Health, right? You can find that right there in the App
Basis
Store.
of health.
Nice.
Yes.
Is that for just iOS or is it for Android as well?
It's for Android and iOS, so it's in the Google Play Store and the Apple App
All
Store.
right. Very good. Very
Yes,
good.
everyone can access
Yes.
it.
Yes. Wow. How fun. Yes. You're again a wealth of information, and I just love the work you're doing. And yeah, I would love to have you back on to talk about anything from, building out your own private practice to specific interventions for ADD or testing or managing chronic illness and depression. I mean, there's just so many
Yeah.
different trails we can go down with you. So
Tell me when, I'll put it on my calendar.
excellent. So I'll leave it up to the audience. I want the audience to let
Oh,
us know, since she's willing to jump back on with us, if there's something specific you would like to learn more about from Dr. Monica Blied about any of these areas of mental health. So please let us know what you'd like to Q&A her on, and we will dive deeper. Much appreciated.
awesome. Thank you so much for having me today. Thank you for giving me this opportunity and platform to share with people. I'm super grateful.
Oh, me as well. I'm the grateful one, and thank you for your patience today with the technical hiccups.
No problem.
As it goes. Yes. So, yeah, I'd love to have you back on down the road. Feel free to self-schedule. You can be a resident guest here if you want.
Okay.
And yeah, we will have fun with it. So much appreciated. And then we can find you obviously on the app, your website. Your business is in Claremont, California. Your brick and mortar. So
Yep.
lots
Yep.
of ways to.
Serving clients throughout all of California. So it's drblied.com. So DRBLIED.com. I'm also on YouTube at Dr. Blied, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, all at Dr. Blied. So I look forward to connecting with your audience.
Good. This is your website, right?
Yep, that's it.
Excellent. I love it. I like the colors too.
Thank you. It's my favorite colors. Do you notice from like my background here?
Yes. I can see. Very cool. Yes, yes, yes. I like your intro video. For any therapists out there wondering how your homepage should look, this is a good example.
Thank you. Yeah. So I just another kind of free tip for people. I found someone on Fiverr, FIVERR.com, to build out the first iteration of my website. And it was very inexpensive. I think it was like $350. And then after that, they kind of given me all the backdoor access. And so I've built it out more myself and built other web pages, including if you want to click on that bottom ADHD and autism testing. You click on that one. That's a page that I built myself. So, as you're going through, you don't have to pay thousands and thousands of dollars to, start your business. You can just start with a little bit and go ahead and scroll up because it's really beautiful. I'm proud of it. You just start with a little bit and then kind of back end on how to do it yourself. And you can do something like LinkedIn Learning that teaches you like step by step on how to, add pages to a website and those sorts of things.
Wow, that's fantastic. Very good.
Oh, one more helpful hint. So there's this website called unsplash.com. And on there you can get copyright free images. So you can download images of anything. You just type in what the image that you're looking for, and then you can add them to your website and they don't have any copyright and no cost.
Wow. Yes. Unsplash is a great one. So again, I think we could dive really deep on a lot of your expertise for any therapist out there. I think starting a private practice, just obviously the legalese of it is one hurdle, but like you had mentioned, understanding the online aspect, the SEO, the websites, the digital offerings, as well as like how to market locally, how to fill up your caseload but not be overwhelmed, right? And I think that's really where this idea of passive income shines, right? Is because you can offer quality care without burning yourself out face to face, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then still have a further reach in the online space. And that way it's kind of the best of both worlds, right?
Yes.
They complement each other. And that's the dream, I think, for a lot of clinicians these days. That's definitely on, my mental horizon, is trying to get more into that space. And there's a lot to learn, right? Just in building out this podcast and YouTube and everything that's a whole thing in and of itself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is the skills involved with that. And then course creating, like you said, there's so many platforms now. I mean, think of it, Kajabi,
yes,
Teachable.
Right.
One I'm playing with right now is ThriveCart Learn, which is a whole other thing. Yeah. So there's just, and then I think you said LearnDash is what you're using.
Yes. Yeah. Just build it into your own website. You own all of it.
So it is a lot of information, but I'm glad that we have you in our corner so we can pick your brain.
Oh yes, I'm here. I'm happy to share.
Somebody who's already beat down a path. So that's awesome. All right. Well, I will look forward to having you back on in the future. In the meantime, you have a fantastic week, and thank you again so much for making time today.
You're welcome, and you too.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Hey, if you're getting value from this content and you haven't done so already, please be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel and podcast, and leave a review on Apple Podcasts, as that will help raise more mental health awareness. And be sure to share with your friends and family. Well, there you have it. Another tool to help you thrive. Now go make good things happen. Bye-bye.
You're gone now, will you call me back? Yeah, I know that. Yeah, I know that. You're the traveler.